Our Wednesday afternoon, we've got a lot of stories to get to, and one of our biggest stories involves that escaped inmate from Rockdale County who was just captured this morning. Our Rob DiRienzo's been following this story, and we know a news conference just wrapped up with the Rockdale County Sheriff. Rob, truly incredible. We saw this guy take an Uber. He was knocking on people's doors before he was captured. Give us a little bit of the backstory. Where was he ultimately found, and how did we get here?
Hey there, Ariel. Good afternoon. Well, we got a lot of new details from the Sheriff's news conference just a short time ago here at Rockdale County Sheriff's headquarters. Now, we're learning that he left Grady Memorial Hospital beginning on Monday morning wearing nothing but a hospital gown, no socks, no shoes. From there, police say that he went on a crime spree, stole those two cars, and then somehow managed to take an Uber to another location. That all came to a head this morning, but I want to give you a look at what he looked like once he was taken into custody early this morning by deputies and law enforcement. This is 52-year-old Timothy Shane. He has been on the run, as I mentioned, since early Monday morning when he escaped deputies' custody while at Grady. The sheriff tells us he believes Shane staged a suicide attempt to get there. After he got out, cops say he managed to steal two cars, one with a gun in it, then took an Uber to a Henry County Publix yesterday. It seemed like the trail went cold last night. That was until this morning around 1 a.m. when people on Morris Street in the Covington area of Newton County said he was going door to door claiming he was lost. Covington police tell us they were first tipped off around 6 p.m. last night that he may be in the area, but they just couldn't track him down. Then at 1 a.m., that knocking began and Rockdale's K-9 team went out there, and police say they ended up finding him inside an abandoned home in that neighborhood, and he was taken into custody and brought back here without further incident. But the sheriff now faces some tough questions about how that inmate was able to escape from deputies' custody. Listen to what he said about that in the news conference.
We don't know exactly what they were doing. We are currently awaiting surveillance from the hospital to see what exactly could have, if anything, went wrong as to how he escaped and why he escaped. What the employee was doing, what policies that could have been broken or not broken. And so I hope that, and I believe that our community can trust in our abilities, and when we investigate how things like this happen, and that the conclusion is going to be facts, based upon facts.
Ariel, still a lot of unanswered questions, but we did get confirmation from the sheriff that at least one of the deputies who was assigned to watch Shane that night is now on administrative leave, pending the outcome of this internal investigation. I also was able to confirm that Shane is back here at the Rockdale County Jail behind bars, but it remains to be seen what new charges he now faces. Ariel?
Yeah, Rob, this has really just been quite the saga over the past few days, and it was interesting listening to that news conference. And one of the first things the reporter asked was just, hey, what do you say to people who are lacking faith now in the Rockdale County Sheriff's Agency because this guy was able to escape? And I know the sheriff said that no agency is perfect and they're working to kind of right the wrongs. Do you feel like there were any unanswered questions to that regard as the reporter on this story?
Absolutely. There were tons of unanswered questions throughout that news conference, and we did press him a lot, and we said, well, what do you know? And he says that they're waiting on surveillance video from Grady as well as other components to try to piece together what exactly went wrong here, because something clearly did go wrong for this inmate to be able to leave protective custody at Grady. But we did not get a lot of definitive answers out of him. He did continue to cite this internal investigation, but as you can imagine, this is something like egg on the face for the sheriff's office here, that one of their main jobs is to keep jail inmates in custody. It seems like something clearly went wrong here, and that was not able to happen early Monday morning on Grady. Now we're pressing on these answers, but so far we have very little about the specifics of those.
Yeah, Rob, great job. I'm taking a look through our YouTube chat right now, seeing if people have any questions for you. Someone did comment and said Rockdale's deputy was outsmarted by a guy who thought knocking on doors at 1 a.m. was a good idea. So it kind of gives you a perception of what some of the people are thinking here publicly about the situation. As we move forward, I know you'll continue to get answers and work to figure out how this happened. Before I let you go, any final thoughts or things you think that people streaming along with us should know about this story?
Well, Ariel, it seemed like at several points throughout the news conference, the sheriff alluded to it almost seemed like a conspiracy on behalf of Shane to hatch this plan to supposedly fake a suicide attempt, and was able to essentially play the deputies all the way to Grady. Now, we haven't been able to get confirmation of that, but that's where his frame of mind seems to be right now. This was a well thought out plan. He says that no other inmates, as far as he knows, colluded with him on the inside. On the outside, that remains to be seen, but that's what he continued to hint at. I think time will tell if there's any truth there.
Rob, you know, you bring up such a good point, because we were talking about that so much here in the newsroom about that story. Like, it takes a lot to get an Uber. You know, you've got to have a card on file to be able to request a car, and just seems like this inmate was able to have so many steps go right for him to be able to escape as long as he did. So a big question I think people are wondering is, was there any help? Were people trying to set him up at all? And like you said, remains to be seen, and hopefully we get some of those answers as the investigation continues. So, Rob, thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate you. Okay, let's see. Rob actually might be, hold on. I feel like, Rob, I might have cut you off. Let me come back to you. I think you might have said something interesting. Go ahead. I want to make sure I got your last bit. What were you saying?
I apologize. I just didn't want to leave our viewers without this. This is an important part, where the sheriff says when they arrested him and when they looked around his possessions, they didn't find a phone, which obviously you need a phone to order an Uber. So it remains to be seen how exactly he was able to order these Ubers without any phone on his person.
Yeah. Rob, very important clarification there. No phones, so how was he able to get the Uber? Definitely very curious. So thank you for that, and we'll stay tuned to you as you get any new updates on this story. So Rob DiRienzo, thanks so much. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because we have a couple other things to get to. Another story that we're following, and this may not be a surprise to any of us here living in the metro Atlanta area, but we're finding that incomes are not keeping up with the price of rent. Raise your hand if this sounds familiar, if it affects you, you feel like you can relate. Kevin Stewart's been digging into this story this afternoon. And Kevin, curious what you're finding. I feel like, you know, did the results surprise you? I feel like a lot of people streaming with us would probably say, hey, this is something I can relate to.
Well, yeah, no doubt about that. I think you framed this correctly. You know, we know there's an issue. You know, that's not a shock. It's just that when you see the numbers for yourself in black and white, they really make you like, you know, make you really think. I asked the Atlanta Regional Commission to take a look at this and do a deep dive with me on these numbers, and it's really interesting, and it's very clear that the numbers just don't match up. You've got income right here, you've got rent right here. And so what they've done is they looked at Zillow Index, which takes in a lot of different factors, but it comes up with an asking price. And they tracked it for the last 10 years, going back to January 2015. And to give you some perspective here, and this might not surprise you as well, right now there are 3 counties in metro Atlanta where the asking price for rent is over $2,000. That's going to be Cherokee, Forsyth, Forsyth County, and Fayette County. Those are those 3 counties. Fulton County, it's just over 1,800. Now, to give you a really good perspective of just how much we've seen an increase over the last decade, Clayton County, traditionally a working class community. 15 years ago, January 2015, the numbers say the asking price, according to the Zillow Index, was $795 a month. Now it's over $1,700 a month. Take a listen.
Housing affordability and rent prices are really at what we would say at ARC and throughout the region, crisis levels. They have been trending upwards for many years now. We've also, as you mentioned, seen housing prices increase substantially historically, even though there has been a slight decrease, maybe of 1% to 5% typically, based on different counties. But the wages that people earn have not kept pace at all. They've increased around 40% over the last 10 years, whereas rents have increased between 60 and 100%.
And that doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up, yeah.
And so that's simple math, it's just not growing fast enough. I had a chance to meet a woman today who we're going to, later in our newscast today, who told us today was moving day because she moved here from Washington, D.C., pretty expensive, comes down here to Atlanta, which is kind of seen as the mecca of lots of prosperity. She's an IT professional. She moved to Cobb County specifically looking for the school system there. She moved to Smyrna to rent. She had to pick up and move to Douglasville. Now, after only a few months, she says it's time to go. She says it just wasn't adding up for her, and so she's going to move to East Point. She's going to rent a house where she thinks she can get more bang for her buck, but she says it's all expensive, and it's just it's been a shock to her. Ariel?
Kevin, yeah, we're streaming here on TikTok, and I'm taking a look through to see if anyone has any questions or comments, and I'm also looking in the chat here on YouTube. And it's really crazy because a lot of people are just talking about how they can relate to this so much. It's not keeping up, our incomes. And it's interesting to hear some of those counties that you said we've really seen some of the sharpest increases here over the past 10 years.
Yeah, and then the fascinating thing is, for instance, Forsyth County, if I'm not mistaken, that is the highest median income in the state. It's definitely a area where people have relocated to from out of state and have moved to, say, Fulton County and Gwinnett County for more prosperity, if you will. So the fact that rent there is high isn't shocking, but when you look at someplace like Clayton County, where people have moved to for a deal, it's a traditionally working class area, lots of immigrants in Clayton County. You want something affordable, something that you can manage, and even that, the asking price according to that Zillow index as of the end of October was just over $1,700 a month. That's not an average, but that's an asking price. That's a lot. And so one of the solutions, and that's something that the ARC is working with various communities across the metro, is trying to figure out what types of housing need to be built in these communities, because they say it's if you add rental properties and homes that people own, that really does impact everything, and that potentially can kind of level out prices. As for income, that's another story.
Yeah, Kevin, it's so interesting because I'm looking through our YouTube chat, and Lamar just commented and was saying East Point rent may be lower, but those utilities are going to make her want to move back. I think talking about the woman you were just speaking to. So, it's such a catch-22, rock in a hard place. I also have someone asking what the average rent is for the state of Georgia. Not sure if you know that at all.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I can tell you that it was in the metro area. Forsyth County was the most. I believe it was 2,200 and change.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kevin, I'm sure you're going to stay on top of this, because this is not the first time I know that you've covered the cost of living and how housing prices and rent prices, affordability, it continues to go up.
That's what
so.
matters.
Yeah, we're all affected by it. So, Kevin, thanks so much for bringing this insight to the conversation today. I appreciate your time. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on because I have some national stories to get to. But first, I do want to let you know more about a major methamphetamines bust that FBI Atlanta made in conjunction with state and local partners. So at Hall County, the sheriff's office there, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they say they got 1,600 pounds of Mexican cartel trafficked methamphetamines off the street, and it was over $10 million in value. 2 men were arrested. They're going to face federal drug trafficking charges. And the wild thing in all of this, they say the men trafficked the drugs using blackberries and fruit. So let's take a listen.
Today, I am pleased to announce some of the most recent federal charges that have been brought as a result of an ongoing HSTF investigation, in which federal, state, and local law enforcement partners are all participating hand in hand with an extraordinary degree of cooperation. That cooperation is demonstrated by the presence of FBI Special Agent in Charge Paul Brown, GBI Director Chris Hosey, and Hall County Chief Deputy Sheriff Kevin Head, who are with me today and who will each talk about the roles that their agencies played in this investigation. The results of the cooperation are demonstrated by what you see on both sides of me here. Approximately 1,600 pounds of deadly Mexican cartel-trafficked methamphetamine, which remains a significant scourge in our community. In addition to seizing these drugs, which are worth tens of millions of dollars, GBI and the Hall County Sheriff's Office arrested 2 men who, as of earlier this week, are now facing federal drug trafficking charges. Gerardo Solario Alvarado and Nelson Enrique Sorto have been charged with possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, and Solario Alvarado has also been charged with conspiring to commit that crime. Both men are convicted felons. Solario Alvarado was convicted in federal court for drug trafficking and possessing a firearm in furtherance of drug trafficking, and he served nearly 2 decades in federal prison for those offenses. He was then, and he remains, an illegal alien unlawfully present in the United States. Sorto was previously convicted of methamphetamine possession in state court, and he was on probation at the time of the offense alleged in this case. Both men are currently in state custody, but custody will be transferred to the United States Marshal Service. Thereafter, each of the defendants will appear in federal court before a federal magistrate judge, and my office will move for both of them to be held without bail until their cases have been resolved. Both men face possible life imprisonment without parole. Solario Alvarado faces at least 15 years of imprisonment because of his criminal history, and Sorto faces at least 10 years of imprisonment. Director Hosey and Chief Head will give the details regarding the operations that led to the seizure of the more than 700 kilograms, or about 1,580 pounds of the drugs that are displayed here. But I think it's important to note that we've seen the cartels operate this way before. Just in North Georgia, and just within the last few months, we have seen massive methamphetamine seizures of drugs that were smuggled in with cucumbers or with celery or with jalapeno peppers, and now, as you'll hear, blackberries. I want to acknowledge the outstanding crime fighters who are responsible for these seizures, particularly the men and women of the GBI in the Appalachian and the West Metro Regional Drug Enforcement Offices. I got to tell you, Will Trent can't hold a candle to the real thing. These guys were in the streets with the Hall County Sheriff's Office deputies just days before Thanksgiving to seize these drugs and arrest these defendants. I also want to acknowledge Hall County District Attorney Lee Dara for his cooperation and his partnership. One of the great things about being U.S. Attorney here in North Georgia is that we get to work with folks who have no ego, who are dedicated to the mission, who will work together because we all understand that by working together, we can achieve results like this. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Paul Brown.
Okay, guys, I'm going to jump back in because Special Agent Paul Brown talks a little bit about how they were able to make this bust. He says that they found the men in the box trucks. They zeroed in as they were conducting this investigation, and it was within those trucks that they were able to find the drugs hidden in blackberries, of all things. So really incredible work from the FBI, Hall County Sheriff's Office, GBI, as this was a both federal, state, and local investigation. And you got to see some of those drugs just laid out on the table on either side. Quite an incredible picture just to see them stacked up so high. So we've got a busy 2 o'clock hour and a lot of things to get to. So I'm going to move on here and continue to let you know some other things that are happening that I think will affect you. One of the big ones being health care. Right now, lawmakers are battling over Affordable Care Act subsidies and what they're going to do in the next steps as it relates to American health care. So Republicans and Democrats say they want to make health care more affordable, but they can't seem to find a way to come together and make it happen. Democrats are still pushing for an extension of funding for the Affordable Care Act. Republicans say that's throwing good money after bad. Just weeks after the government shutdown ended without a deal to extend these Obamacare subsidies, House Democrats are getting restless, and now they're trying to force an up or down vote on extending the subsidies. They believe this is going to stop millions of Americans from losing their insurance under the Affordable Care Act. As you know, health insurance is set to go up once these subsidies expire here here at the end of the year. Most Republicans, though, say they're more likely to support a shorter-term extension, which would include cost controls. The big thing that President Trump has urged lawmakers to do is get rid of Obamacare for good and replace it with direct payments so people can buy their own insurance. Now, we're here on YouTube and in TikTok. If that sounds like something you'd want, put it in the chat and we can talk more about it, where you stand with your health care and what that means for you. But I want to continue here because some lawmakers are trying to cut through the political noise. A new bipartisan bill is offering an extension while also promising cost savings of $90 billion. For now, leaders on both sides are digging in for a long fight, and without action from Congress, again, those subsidies for the Affordable Care Act are set to expire at the end of the month. So pretty significant impact to Americans' costs on health care. I want to keep you updated on another big story as it relates to the criticism that you can see Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is facing regarding those Venezuelan boat strikes. Even though the Pentagon chief is facing criticism for these suspected drug-running boat strikes, he says they're going to continue striking. A report surfaced last week that the U.S. military conducted a follow-up strike on a suspected boat killing survivors in the water. Hegseth has said he did not personally see the survivors, but he says that he calls it the fog of war, how this all unfolded. So I want to get in a little bit deeper as to how this unfolded because context does matter. During a cabinet meeting yesterday, Tuesday, Hegseth said he watched the first strike, but wasn't in the room when the second shot was ordered. And he says he stands by the Navy commander who made the call to make that second strike, killing the survivors in the water. The Pentagon started targeting alleged drug smugglers in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific in early September. And since then, there have been at least 21 reported strikes and 83 deaths. Several Democrats are calling for Hegseth to resign, saying these could be war crimes, but he's not pulling back on the military action, and he has President Trump's support. Congress plans to investigate these double strikes, but the White House continues to insist that they're targeting drug cartels and the operations are lawful. Now, guys, coming up, I want to get a check of your weather forecast. We're going to be doing that with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy here, and that is coming up next. Welcome back in. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey, always a pleasure. Was pleased to see Mr. Sunshine today, Jonathan.
Take a picture. It won't last long.
Oh, dear.
We're welcoming in the sunshine for it to throw its deuces at us as we get into the afternoon. We'll see our last books, because by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, it won't be the sunshine that wakes you up. Counting your alarm clock to do all the work
Rain?
tomorrow.
What do we have in store?
We'll start with clouds,
Okay.
and then from there we'll add some rain to the mix.
Okay.
So get ready, get ready. Let's take a look at Fox 5 Live Viper. You can see there, high pressure has come, but it's not come to stay. That remnant low now drifting off the Canadian Maritime, New England, signs of yesterday, in which big time snowfall fell from the Great Lakes across the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley into the interior Northeast. For us, we got just a chilly rain. So today is a nice break, not only in the cloud cover, but also in our rain chances. Temperatures, yeah, they've been on the struggle bus and they're not moving much. We're at 50 degrees here in Atlanta. This is warmer as we've been all day, something we did not achieve yesterday. So there has been some modest improvement, but we take one step forward to take two steps backward. Speaking of steps, we're going to slide into the 30s after we say so long to the 40s in the afternoon hours. Some communities trying to sneak into the 20s, and there'll be some spots that we'll be watching, especially around the sunrise period tomorrow, from Rome all the way down to LaGrange, where temperatures flirt with freezing or fall below. That is an area that could deal with some momentary wintry mix as we kick off Thursday morning. Overall, your rain chances are around 30% for Thursday. It's more of a late day affair that will carry us into the overnight hours. Rain dominates today, Friday. By Saturday, we still have some showers sticking around. Another system rolls in from the Gulf, and you can see us on our doorsteps. By this time tomorrow, think areas to the south of the Atlanta metro area dealing with light rain, heavier pockets stretching from Louisiana across southern Mississippi and Alabama, reaching into Georgia, and it continues from there.
Wow.
A wall of water comes rushing through. That's Thursday. Now it's Friday, and another round moves in and moves out. The higher rainfall amounts will be to the south and to the east of I-85. Areas to the north and to the west won't be bone dry, but I say the clouds will have more bark than bite. Let's see if we can make sense of this all here. Where you see the green is where you'll find the heftiest, the heaviest, and the highest rainfall amounts. 1.1 Griffin, 1.2 Eaton, and this is by the time we draw collections in for Sunday midday. Up to the north, you'll get something, but only a few drops. This is going to help us with the deficit of 5+ inches that we're in for the year. And I think December is very determined. It is determined to deliver us from the drought, or at least recover us from the deficit, because the rain chances in the forecast for tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, possibly even Sunday and Monday. And as I look ahead at the long-term outlook, it foretells a wetter pattern staying locked in place. So make the most out of these
A high of 51.
moments.
Burr. 51 degrees, Jonathan. That's chilly even by my Toledo Midwest, you know, the time I spent there standards. That's pretty chilly.
You're saying burr. I think there are other four-letter words that many Southerners would prefer to use,
I'm
burr
completely
keeps it
fine with
PC.
that.
We're
you
not governed by
guys,
the FCC, nonetheless.
This is true. And I have to call attention to
Yeah.
our YouTube chat. If you're streaming along with us and you're commenting in the YouTube channel, someone commented, Jonathan, and said, I hope he's wearing a turtleneck. And I have to feel he's talking about you, because I feel like your turtlenecks are fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
So, you know, I'm trying to find that comment. But
As a forecaster, I feel like my fashion should reflect what you will be experiencing or what you should wear when you walk outside.
I
So
like that.
I layered up today. Oftentimes with this job here at Fox 5, we have this deal where we go stand out on what we call the weather deck.
Yeah.
And I am the most cold adverse person on this planet. If it's below 60 degrees,
You're
I'm
not
like,
having
ugh,
Yeah.
I'm shaking, because I'm cold all the time. And so I don't want to have to wrestle with a coat. So I go ahead and layer up, and then I can delete if need be, if I'm inside. If I'm outside, I'm just ready to go and brave it. Stick it out.
Jonathan, thank you as always.
Indeed.
Fashionable, accurate forecasting. What more could we want from Jonathan? Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Okay, we're going to move on, guys, because I have a national story to get to you guys on, and it involves the ongoing peace talks with Ukraine and where we stand there. This is pretty significant because peace talks that were supposed to happen between United States negotiators and Ukraine were called off yesterday, and this push for peace has hit a major roadblock because of it. Now, President Trump had said this is not an easy situation. What a mess. He voiced his frustration at the slow pace of the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. Tuesday night, President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, met with Vladimir Putin for about 5 hours. There was no consensus reached, and on Wednesday morning, a Kremlin official from Russia said, quote, absolutely comfortable on the battlefield. They see no point in serious compromises. But just hours later, a spokesperson kind of walked back to those remarks and claimed the talks are still ongoing. Dmitry Peskov, a Kremlin spokesperson, says some things were accepted, others were not, and this is the normal working process. Now, a new round of discussions between this special envoy Witkoff, Kushner, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. We're not sure when another one may happen, because those talks were abruptly called off just hours after the Russian talks with Vladimir Putin wrapped in Moscow. Now the United States team is headed back to Washington without debriefing Ukrainian officials on their progress with Russia and where the deal may stand. But it seems like the key sticking point is that eastern boundary of what's going to be the border between Ukraine and Russia. The hardest thing will be what Ukrainians can really give up to Russia. The fighting continues to escalate in eastern Ukraine. Russians are making slow but steady progress, prompting a new plea to Western allies. They're asking for more military support as this diplomatic process plays out on the other side. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he's cautiously optimistic despite the lack of concrete progress so far. So we'll continue to keep you updated there. Another significant story I want to quickly go over with you guys is that the Trump administration has announced a travel ban, a pause on immigration applications from 19 non-European countries. This includes green cards and U.S. citizenship processing. The Trump administration says the reason for all this pause is because of concerns about national security and public safety. It comes as people from all 19 countries affected were already facing a partial travel ban back in June. The list of countries includes Afghanistan, Haiti, Chad, Libya, and Somalia. And as you may have heard or may suspect, the memo cites several crimes suspected to be committed by immigrants, including the recent attack on 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. And that is the reason for why they are pushing this pause into effect. That attack killed one and critically injured another. And getting you a quick update on where we stand there, the man accused of attacking 2 National Guards members in Washington, D.C. has pled not guilty. We learned this update just yesterday. But he's pled not guilty to murder and assault charges. Prosecutors say the case against him is only getting stronger. That 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom was killed. She was a National Guards member from West Virginia, as well as 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, also from West Virginia, and he was badly hurt. Both West Virginia National Guards members were shot near the White House, and the suspect, Rahmullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national, appeared in court from the hospital with his court-appointed lawyer pleading not guilty to those charges. Surveillance images show a suspect identified as Lakanwal crouching near the victims after the attack. Investigators say he had traveled from his home in Washington state and had been in the country since 2021, resettling after the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan, where he reportedly worked with the United States military. Right now, we do know that soldier continues to fight for his life. Andrew Wolf, that National Guardsman, will continue to keep you updated on his progress. In the meantime, we do know that Lakanwal will appear in court again next month, and federal charges could bring the death penalty. So we'll continue to keep you updated there. But I want to continue to keep you updated in national news here, because as we continue to track the impacts of the Trump administration's tariffs, we know that one thing that's continuing to happen is that a growing number of United States sawmills are closing up their shops for good. In fact, one industry group says about 1 or 2 sawmills are going out of business every week. Many are blaming years of uncertainty caused by constant trade tensions and tariff negotiations. So I want to check in with Asher Red. He's in Manchester, Tennessee. He's the one who's been following the story for us this afternoon. Asher, it's great to see you. We do know that the sawmill where you're standing by, judging by the lack of activity behind you, it closed last week. Is that correct?
Since reopened, as you can hear some of the machines running behind me, and this owner says that he doesn't have enough lumber orders to keep it open every single week in the months of November and December. So he's using that downtime to make much needed repairs to his equipment, but he says that's great and all, but it's not paying the bills.
Because he's talking about how it sounds like lumber, not having enough of it, is contributing to why he's unable to do some of the work there. Any reason for that shortage? What does he think is behind it?
Well, you have to go back to 2018. That's where a lot of these hardwood industry leaders say that this really started. And back then, China and the U.S. started talking about trade. That was with the first Trump administration. And China retaliated against then Trump's tariff policies. And then, U.S. sawmills lost half of their market share in China to places like Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And now you have these countries that are refusing to buy American lumber because America has put tariffs on their lumber. So this is all retaliatory, and it's causing an issue for a lot of these sawmills in this area and really across the whole country. And I saw a number earlier today. I was on the phone with people from the National Hardwood Lumber Association. They say that about 4% of U.S. sawmills have either closed or consolidated since this began, and that's about 1 or 2 sawmills every week.
That's incredible numbers, Asher. And, for those who are unfamiliar, right, I'd like to kind of strip this down a little bit. What is a sawmill? What does it do? Why is it important to our economy?
Well, if you think about it, lumber is really what built America. America, centuries ago, we had our phase where we went through the railroads. And guess what builds railroads? Trusses from wood. And also, you've got houses that are built of, guess what? Wood. And buildings that are also built of wood. And so it's very important to our society. I mean, you go back to, 2018, that year, U.S. lumber was the second most popular export to China that year. And now we've got other things that are coming up as wood alternatives. Some people are now, especially consumers, are getting more comfortable with buying less expensive, lower quality wood lookalikes to decorate their homes, things like plastic or composite vinyl. And that's also hurting these sawmills. One like you see behind me, they're telling me that these big box companies that are selling these products as luxury vinyl flooring is actually lower quality than what used to be in homes back in the 1950s and 1960s. So there's a lot of things that have come together to make kind of the perfect storm for this industry, and now they're really starting to fight that, and they're really trying to figure out what to do about it. So a lot of these sawmills and people who own the sawmills are headed out to Washington, D.C. early next year to try to figure out what they can do, sit down with their representatives and the Trump administration, and to ask for help face to face.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come away with, because I think, letting lawmakers know the problems they're facing and the impact it has on industry is so important. Asher, before I let you go, anything else that you think people should know about this story, questions you may have as the reporter still covering it that you want to figure out?
Well, one question that I've asked every sawmill owner I've spoken with, and even some of the people from the Hardwood Federation and the National Hardwood Lumber Association as well, is do you feel like the federal government is listening to you? And right now, this industry, the one you hear behind me that I'm yelling over, is not considered agriculture. It's considered manufacturing, and they're hoping to be put into the agriculture category so they can get subsidies from the government. Right now, farmers, they get subsidies from the government, but these guys behind me, they don't. And they're out here, this sawmill particularly runs 3 days a week usually, and then they use 1 day a week, still here, but doing repairs and getting ready for the next week. And that's just apparently that's not even enough to keep afloat with all these tariffs going around.
Asher, thanks so much for joining the conversation, giving us some insight as to how they're being affected. I think, it's one of those things that until we see it or hear what other people are going through, we don't know about it ourselves. So I appreciate your time today and sharing your reporting with us. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because coming up next, we're going to get a check of where we stand with gas prices. That's something that a lot of people have been talking about, whether or not they're coming down. The Trump administration says that they are. Gas experts say that they are. Curious to hear what you think. And we're going to speak to an expert at cars.com about buying cars and some tips as we navigate that period between Christmas and the new year. That's coming up. Well, welcome in. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with us on your Wednesday afternoon. It is great to see you. You guys, I'm curious, do you feel like gas prices are coming down? Because this is something that a lot of people are talking about. One essential item that's actually getting it cheaper are gas prices. According to experts in the Trump administration, gas prices have reached levels or dropped levels not seen in more than 4 years. The national average has slipped to below $3 a gallon, and analysts say it could get lower. AAA data shows the national average price for regular gas has fallen to about $2.99 a gallon as compared to what it's been around $3.04. And some of the reason is cheaper oil, increased refinery output, and fewer people driving in colder months. Gas Buddy says gas may go down to as much as 10 to 15 cents still in the next few weeks and stay cheaper for a bit. So we'll continue to monitor this. Curious if you're streaming on YouTube or here on TikTok, let us know what you've been paying for gas, and we can talk about it a little later. I also want to let you know that President Donald Trump is set to make an announcement here soon as you take a live look at the White House. That's set to happen around 2:30. We'll see when it begins, but we expect him to announce new fuel economy standards. One of the things he's going to announce from the Oval Office is that he's going to roll back Biden-era fuel efficiency standards for cars. Executives from Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis are expected to attend this announcement from the Oval Office. So we'll keep you updated on that when it starts. But
car. And I think a lot of car shoppers, a lot of people know that, right? This is that time of year where you're going to see lots of sales events advertised by automakers, as well as deals or incentives that are coming to help move older model years off of dealer lots. So this is the time of year traditionally.
You know, Jenny, it's really interesting because people, I think, wonder, like, they may be buying it for a family member. They may be buying a car because they need a car, right? And a lot of dealerships ready to get some of the inventory off the lot and make some money before the new year. What can we do to navigate these sales and know if we're actually getting a deal? What should we look out for, and how should we, any tips or strategies to come to the table with?
Yeah, this year is really interesting because we've seen a lot of flux in the automotive market. We've seen tariffs come in and rearrange automakers' thinking, as well as the end of the EV federal tax credits. So there's been a lot of change, a lot of flux. And so for shoppers, what that means is you're going to need to be really strategic when car shopping. Of course, you need to do your research, but you really need to think about things like, if I'm looking for a deal, am I better off looking on the new side, or should I also maybe consider the used side, right? Will I find something that fits my budget over there? And when, of course, you're actually going to the dealership, you want to make sure that you are ready to buy. So make sure you've got your financing lined up. Make sure that you have been chatting with that dealer, whether it's over email or text or even phone, right? To arrange that appointment and that car will be available for you to test drive. There's just a lot of pre-work that you need to do before you hit the dealership lot.
The research really helps you. It's your friend as you prepare to make that purchase. What kind of cars are we seeing be more popular right now? You know, with tariffs, I feel like I'd imagine that people might be opting for more used cars to save money. But I've heard things that, you know, used cars are really expensive now, too. Is that true? What seems to be in demand?
Well, you're right. Used cars are in demand, and that's because we're seeing a lot of pressure on the new car side. So the average new car price on cars.com is around $50,000, and the average used car price on cars.com is just under $30,000. So prices have slowly been increasing. And because you're seeing that higher price on the new car, a lot of people are going to use to see if they can find something that better fits their budget. Now, one area I think it's good for shoppers to consider are new cars that are around $30,000 or less. Those cars tend to be on the smaller side. We recently published some of our favorite best new cars under $30,000, like the 2026 Hyundai Kona, even the 2026 Chevy Equinox. Those are all under $30,000. So you can find vehicles that will fit your budget on the new side as well.
Jenny, I could talk about this with you forever. I think it's so interesting, such useful advice. We have a few other stories to get to, but I'm sure this won't be the last time we chat about cars. So thank you so much for your time today and letting people know what to expect if they're in the market for a new vehicle. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Jenny, thank you so much. Okay, guys, I want to get to something here really quickly as we continue to move on in our 2 o'clock streaming hour, because we've got a lot of things we're covering. And one of the things we're dealing with involves a new facility that is coming to help women who are dealing with homelessness. Our Chris Rosenthal is out getting a look at what is going to happen later this afternoon. And Chris, love to hear a little bit about what's happening. I understand Georgia Works is the one opening this, and it's the first women's only facility.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been at this since 2013, helping homeless men get back on their feet. But there is a need for women, and this is their first facility for them. They're about to get ready to cut the ribbon and introduce this home. I'm going to come on in right now and get just a quick tour of it. This is the kind of main kitchen area. This home, they had to do a lot of renovation on. It was in a lot of disrepair when they got it. But 11 women will live here. They'll be moving in towards the end of the year, early next year. These are homeless women, but this is more than a shelter, more than just a place for them to stay. The idea is to give them a structured program where they can get back on their feet, get jobs. This location is a great location here in Oakhurst because it's located near MARTA, near near public transits to get them to and from jobs. But I talked with Princess Futrell. She is with the Oakhurst Center for Community, just about why this is so important.
Why is it important to have a home like this for women?
Because there is not one. This is the first of its kind for DeKalb County, for the city of Decatur. There's not a lot of resources specifically for women that are geared towards them, that are geared towards their situations or circumstances. And so we are very grateful to be in this partnership, to have this, to be trailblazers in this work, to kind of set this framework, and hopefully be able to create this in other cities, other states.
And talk to me about the program when they're here. This isn't a shelter. I mean, there's a lot more to this.
Yes, definitely. And so this is more so transitional housing than a shelter, right? And so it's more than just a place to lay their head. They're going to receive wraparound services. They're going to receive support. They're going to receive case management. They're going to get mental health evaluations. They're going to be able to go to classes. They're going to be able to receive that training, that one-on-one support to be able to integrate not only back into the workforce, but back into society. They're going to receive life skills training, be able to learn how to pay bills again. Be able to learn.
Yeah, and this is one of the bedrooms that one of these 11 women will be staying in. This is downstairs in the house. Again, they'll be having the ribbon cutting for this coming up shortly here at 3 o'clock. And Lorraine Cochran Johnson will be here, DeKalb CEO and Mayor here of Decatur. So.
Chris, this looks just beautiful. It has been a pleasure to go on this tour with you. It looks like a wonderful facility, and I'm so glad these women are going to have access to this. At 3 o'clock, I know we're going to check back in with you and get an understanding based on this announcement how this is going to affect the community. So we'll check back in with you in the 3 o'clock hour. Thanks so much, Chris, for giving us a sneak peek. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys, coming up, as you know, or maybe you don't, but I'm here to tell you, it is early signing day, early national signing day, and Georgia football high school athletes are going to be deciding where they're going to school. So we're going to be checking in with Eli Jordan on that coming up next. Well, welcome back, you guys. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming along here with us. You know, today is early National Signing Day for high school football players, and we know our Eli Jordan is out at Collins Hill High School catching up with some student athletes who are making next big steps. And Eli, I understand one of the students may be going to LSU. I know with all the recent Lane Kiffin news, that's definitely a topic of interest. Where do we stand?
Oh, well, that would be Deuce Gerald's, and he's a defensive player, and there's still the coach is speaking back here, so I'm trying to keep it down and not be too much of a nuisance. But yes, Deuce Gerald's highly recruited, is going to LSU, committed back in summertime, and then this recent brouhaha of coaching change from Ole Miss to LSU with Lane Kiffin. The family has decided to just take some time, you know, new coach. You know, due diligence is what is going on. They like the defensive coordinator. They want to make sure that the defensive line coach is a good fit for Deuce, and because he's a defensive lineman, and they want to make sure that, you know, that's the right type they're looking for. They don't want, you know, Deuce to go there and then not play. Playing is the most important thing. But, you know, we also have Atticus Joseph and Cottrell Webb. Atticus Joseph is going to Stanford, you know, way out in California. That'll be fun for him. And, you know, the likes of John Elway, quarterback for the Denver Broncos, went to Stanford. And then Cottrell Webb, he's going all the way up north to Purdue up in Indiana. And so they have signed, and it's an exciting day for them. And Deuce Gerald and his family are expected to have their intentions made known this Friday. But they also like Alabama. Well, at least I tell them they like Alabama. Deuce's stats are very impressive. And if he doesn't go to LSU, well, I would hope the Alabama team will pick him up. But he's a very sought-after four-star recruit, and that's what's going on here. And you know, Deuce, he joined the varsity football team as a freshman.
Wow.
Hardly ever get that, usually on junior varsity. But he started as a freshman. He had 4 sacks and I think 18 tackles as a freshman. So it gives you an idea of the level caliber of this player. But now he's a senior, and you know, in the past years, seniors would sign letters of intent. Now they are signing letters of financial agreement. Some of these people are coming right out of high school making more than their high school coach. And so it's a totally different day and age in this name, image, and likeness and transfer portal era. I mean, you know, back in the day, before transfer portal, people would sign their letter of intent, be locked in. If you wanted to transfer, you'd lose a year of eligibility before you could play, and then have to wait a year. But now it's just they can transfer at the end of the season in January, and you know, so one of these people here could sign. And if they're not getting the kind of playing time they want or getting the money they want, they can come at the next year and transfer out and go somewhere else. So this is more of a financial agreement than it is about cultural type commitments and spirit of the school. This is kind of like a business meeting now. And so it's changed a whole lot. High school players are looking at big money when they get right out of high school, and that's what's going on. But right now, the big news of the day, defensive lineman Deuce Gerald is withholding his commitment as of now, probably going to recommit this Friday with LSU, but they just want to make sure due diligence is done.
Understandable, Eli. You know, it's a big step for any player, and especially as these, you know, young athletes are looking at making this their future in their career. Important to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So, Eli Jordan, I know we're going to check back in with you at 3 o'clock. Things are going on behind you, so I'll let you get back to news gathering, and we'll check in with you again within the 3 o'clock hour. So, Eli Jordan, thank you so much. You guys, always a pleasure streaming along here with you on Fox Local. We've got Tom Haynes here. We're about to begin our 3 o'clock streaming hour. We'll see you right here.
Live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. I say 3 p.m. We realize it's about 20 after. Had some technical issues here to work through, but we've obviously done that, and now we are ready to go with some breaking news happening right now. A huge drug bust in Hall County, and this was an impressive capture on the part of authorities. It was a multi-agency effort, all coming together to get a bunch of meth off the streets. The FBI holding a news conference displaying what they were able to get, saving countless lives, no doubt. Eric Perry was part of that news conference with the FBI. Eric, they kind of outlined how they did this. Meth busts are particularly dangerous because when you're dealing with meth, the house can just go up in flames at any moment. So they had to be super careful going in. But tell us more about the capture and what was behind this investigation.
Yeah, so Tom, this one particularly interesting. So they didn't have to go into a house per se to get this meth. They were found in blackberries, pallets of blackberries on the back of box trucks there. So it took place one in Hall County, then simultaneously taking place in southeast Atlanta. 1,600 pounds of meth taken off the streets. If we're not already, let's show you some video there. They had it displayed out. One table for Hall County, one table for Atlanta. 2 men arrested in this. Geraldo Solario Alvera is one of them. Nelson Enrique Sorto, is another man. Both of them will face drug trafficking charges. Solario Alvarado, he is the one who has previously served jail time or federal time in connection to this. There is a third box truck that was found, but when they found that one, they say that it was emptied already. However, the driver of that truck, who they did not name in that news conference earlier today, was arrested. He is not believed to have any connection here to the United States or citizenship or anything like that. They say he was handed over to ICE, who will be deported at some time there. Now, as you mentioned, this is a collaborative effort, a joint effort, and they really made a point to say that they work together on this. Federal levels with the FBI, you have the GBI, and then you had Hall County Sheriff's Office and officials with that department. Take a listen to some of this sound.
GBI and the Hall County Sheriff's Office arrested 2 men who, as of earlier this week, are now facing federal drug trafficking charges. Gerardo Solario Alvarado and Nelson Enrique Sorto have been charged with possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, and Solario Alvarado has also been charged with conspiring to commit that crime. That we've seen the cartels operate this way before. Just in North Georgia, and just within the last few months, we have seen massive methamphetamine seizures of drugs that were smuggled in with cucumbers or with celery or with jalapeno peppers, and now, as you'll hear, blackberries.
So not only are they using the fruit here as well, we asked, is that their method or choice, or why do they use that? But they say that the drug cartels and those drug trafficking will use any and everything there, from construction materials to hiding it in cars and different things like that. As for the blackberries, they believe that none of those blackberries that were used in any of this are contaminated. So that's some good news for the blackberry lovers out there. But they also mentioned as well that no particular cartel that they named in this particular operation, but they say that there are several drug cartels that have their hands here in North Georgia as well. Looking over some of it, so 661 pounds of meth was found when they found it in Gainesville. Another 924 pounds found here in Metro Atlanta there. So really a victory lap here. As 2 weeks ago they were here just talking about the drug task force and how they were focusing in some of the issues there, but this is the largest seizure for Hall County officials, and then really one of the largest that we have seen in quite some time for the FBI, GBI, and those local agencies here. Tom?
First of all, Eric, I didn't know blackberries were even still a thing. I mean, I didn't know they were still around.
Yeah.
Now that we've moved into the, the iPhone and Samsung mobile devices, BlackBerry. I haven't heard the name BlackBerry in like 10 years. So I'm surprised that they're being used as a vehicle to smuggle these drugs.
Well, Tom, okay, so not blackberry as in the phone, but blackberry as in the fruit. So
okay,
the fruit
so
blackberries like blueberries type of thing.
We got cucumbers, celery, jalapenos, and now blackberries.
Yes.
What does it do? Do they mask the scent of the drug? Do they like make it so that the drug sniffing dogs can't pick up on the scent of the drugs? Like what does the produce do to conceal the meth?
You know, we asked that question as well. They really said that it's just a means of maybe just trying to make it look inconspicuous or just trying to hide it. You might not think of cucumbers. You might not think of jalapenos because we thought, just like you had thought there, that maybe they hide the scent from the drug dogs or anything like that. But no, they're just using any vehicle that they can to hide the drugs in.
It's incredible, but so great that these drugs are off the street. I don't know if they went into detail about how many potential lives were saved here, but we often hear in drug busts, you know, we've been seeing the ones taking place down in the Caribbean where they knock out these drug boats, and then they say like something like 25,000 lives have been saved because they were able to stop these drugs from making it to the streets. Did the FBI go into detail about the fact that they've just saved a bunch of lives?
Yes, they didn't give an exact number, but they said this will definitely save lives. We also asked if any of the meth, you saw the video there, any of it's been tested for fentanyl. So far, because this is just so new there, they have not said that they've been tested for fentanyl as of yet. But they said, of course, everyone focuses on fentanyl, but they say meth has really destroyed families and lives and overdoses, and the amount is in the several tens of millions of dollars in street worth as well. So you can just imagine how many actual lives were saved, Tom.
Fentanyl, an instant killer. Eric Perry with the FBI today on this huge drug bust in Hall County. Eric, thanks so much. As we continue, got a lot to talk about here still to come in the 3 p.m. hour. We're going to check our forecast as we take a live look across downtown Atlanta on what is a beautiful Wednesday in the metro Atlanta area. Enjoy it, because it's going to go away real quick. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So glad you're with us this afternoon, joined by meteorologist Jonathan Stacy, you've had a busy week thus far tracking the weather. Started the week out on a rainy note. Yesterday was just downright cloudy and raw. Today we got a bit of a break, finally seeing some sunshine, but that's going to go away real quick.
It is a midweek break.
Yeah.
Hump Day Wednesday offering up some sunshine, but it does not stick around for long. As soon as the sun slips below the horizon tonight, or this evening, or this afternoon.
Say bye-bye to the sun, right?
Yeah, say so long, because clouds will be in place first thing tomorrow morning. If you have a little bit of sunshine, consider yourself lucky. It is the exception, not the rule of the day. Showers coming first in a scattered variety, maybe a bit of a wintry mix, especially as you look over to West Georgia with temperatures starting out somewhere near or slightly below freezing. If those showers run in earlier in the morning, before maybe 6, 7, 8 o'clock, you could once again have a wintry mix falling, but the impact's going to be fairly meager because this afternoon's temperature has managed to find its way into the 50s. So after that, we just open up the skies and they'll stay open, wide open, Friday into Saturday, and Sunday is now trending a bit damper than we originally anticipated. So grab your umbrella, grab a coat, have them in the car, walk out the house with them, walk into work with them, take them.
So Friday is going to be one of those steady rain days?
Steady rain days, especially for the first part of the day. I think there will be some breaks, but those breaks come during the PM hours. And after that, we get into a kind of an on and off deal. It's kind of like a faucet. They'll turn on the rain.
It's like if you can, if you're able, one of those times of year where you want to escape down to like Florida and get some sunshine because it just looks like it's going to be miserable.
Where is this at?
Right?
Like, this is not a December in Atlanta.
Makes you really look forward to spring, which is a long way off.
Long-term forecasts say December is likely the worst for us in terms of precip and cold temperatures.
Okay.
We'll see how it pans out.
Jonathan, thanks. I want to take you now to a story we've been talking about as we take one more live look outside over Sandy Springs. Such a nice day outside. Hope you're enjoying it. This story involves tariffs and workers and things like lumber. U.S. sawmills, a growing number of them, are closing in the United States for good. In fact, one industry group says that about 1 or 2 sawmills are going out of business every week. So what does this mean when you walk into Home Depot for the price of, say, lumber, if you're needed to build something? Well, we're going to look into that coming up because it's a big story that's going to affect consumers on many different levels. Home builders, fixer-uppers, and what have you. Let's get out to Fox's Asher Red, who's live at a sawmill in Manchester, Tennessee, just to our north. Asher, that sawmill was closed last week. What's going on here with the closure of these sawmills?
Well, the owner of this sawmill in Manchester, Tennessee, tells me that he just simply didn't have enough lumber orders to stay open last week, and so he used that time to make much-needed repairs to his equipment, which he says is great and all, but, you know, that doesn't pay the bills.
And with Asher, the closure of sawmills, let's look at the big picture here, the macroeconomic picture. Is this something that's going to affect things like lumber prices? And what is the cause of these closures happening?
Yeah, well, let's throw it back to 2018 during the first Trump administration. That's when countries, specifically like China, stopped buying American lumber to retaliate against President Trump's tariff policies back then. And when that happened, the U.S. lost half of its market share in China to places like Russia, Thailand, and Malaysia. And now, here we are, and about 4%, according to the National Hardwood Lumber Association, of sawmills have gone out of business since then. And that's about 1 or 2 sawmills a week, according to the Hardwood Federation. And you asked about the prices. Well, the owner of this sawmill behind me tells me that his production prices are up, but he's selling for less to try to get that price or get that lumber out to his customers at a fair deal to save his business as much as possible. But he says overall, this sawmill is losing money.
And how does that, Asher, sort of have a ripple effect on the community that you're standing in right now, Manchester, Tennessee? Because it affects not only the owner of that sawmill, somebody who it's probably been in the family for a long time, but then the local employment picture where people depend on jobs at places where you are, that you're standing in front of, and if that sawmill closes, those jobs are gone.
Yeah, well, I grew up in this part of Tennessee, and I'll tell you that, you know, a lot of it here is blue collar. And these guys back here who have been working, I've been to this sawmill 4 times, and I've seen familiar faces every single time I come through here, the same people from the first time I was here. And they rely on this to provide for their families. And a lot of times, this sawmill is a smaller one, but when you get to the bigger sawmills, it has an even greater impact on the community. So I also spoke with a sawmill in Huntland, Tennessee, which is just to the west, or just to the east of me rather, and they were saying that you know, with them being such a large sawmill employing dozens, if not even 100 workers or so, that also has an impact on people who farm trees and people who work in their offices and other places throughout the town. And a lot of these towns, if believe it or not, are built around lumber and built around the lumber infrastructure and sawmills in this area.
Yeah, that's some incredible local perspective, given the fact that you grew up in that area, and that these folks, as I said, not only depend on those sawmills to go to work every day, but it's really working in one of these sawmills, I'm sure, is a very specialized skill to have. So it's like, how do I take that skill that I have from working in the sawmill and replicate it and put it to use somewhere else? Asher Red, live for us up in Tennessee, a place that you know well. Asher, thanks so much. I want to take you now live to the White House, where President Trump is in the Oval Office with a big announcement, we understand, announcing new fuel economy standards. Let's listen to the president.
Automobile plants, AI plants, and plants of every other nation, really every other type, including chips. We're going to have a big percentage of the chip market very soon, not because of the CHIPS Act, which was horrible and ridiculous, where we just gave these companies billions and billions of dollars, and they just kept the money, but because of what we did with tariffs. They have to build here, otherwise they're going to have to pay tariffs. They won't be able to do business in the United States. And we're going to have a big percentage of the chip industry. As of about a year ago, 2 years ago, we had none. And now we're going to have a very big percentage when it all finishes out. So I'd like to ask Secretary Duffy to speak, and then Mr. Farley, and then Filosa, and Urbanik, and Castrita. And also, we're going to ask some of our political leaders to speak, because let me tell you, they went out of their way. This was not easy. People were brainwashed. This is a green new scam. And people were paying too much for a car that didn't work as well. And now they're going to have a great car that's going to be environmentally friendly, but it's going to cost you a lot less, and it's going to work great. All of the nonsense is being taken out of the cars. So, Secretary Duffy, could you say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. President. So yesterday at the cabinet meeting, the president was talking about affordability, and the way that Democrats talk about affordability is a lie. Today is a perfect example of that. So these CAFE standards used what was contrary to the law. The Congress set a rule that says you have to look at combustion engines. Biden and Buttigieg actually did an analysis using Buttigieg, I'm sorry. Buttigieg used EVs and hybrids to come up with a 62 mile an hour per gallon standard, which I think the car companies will tell you is completely unattainable. So they spent a lot of money on technology trying to meet the unattainable standard, driving up the cost of a car, number one. And then number two, if they couldn't meet the unattainable standard, they had to trade for carbon, costing billions of dollars, and again, driving up the price of the car. So, Mr. President, what Democrats were doing, were not making cars more affordable, they're making them less affordable. The consequence of that is going to be that more Americans can afford to buy a new car, which means they're going to be safer on the roads because of all the great new technology we have that save lives.
Secretary Sean Duffy speaking behind the president there in the Oval Office. You see Senator Ted Cruz and some other lawmakers there rolling back some fuel efficiency standards for cars and trucks set by the Biden administration. This is an announcement at the White House that was heavily billed or advertised, if you will. The president promising that it's going to save motorists money on fuel and transportation, something that he argues is something that can fuel, if you will, the economy as well. As we continue here, today is National Signing Day for a lot of high school students, and we're going to take you live to Suwanee, Georgia. Our Eli Jordan is there at Collins Hill High School with some of the new recruits when we continue. Welcome back, everybody, to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom with everything that's happening live right now. All the relevant news and information happening here is going straight out to you. Appreciate you streaming with us on Fox Local, on our streaming app, whether you're on the mobile device, whether you're at home watching on your home TV through one of your streaming channels. We're glad you're here, or on our YouTube channel. Certainly happy you're with us, too. TikTok. Where else are we? Everywhere, okay? We're glad you're with us this afternoon. It is National Signing Day. What does that mean? For high school kids, football players, they're getting ready to go to college, and they want to play for the best of the best. All right, so Eli Jordan is at Collins Hill High School, one of 3 football players, Eli, expected to go to LSU, and that's a big get, not only for the player, but for the school.
Oh, yeah, it's a big get, and he committed. Deuce Gerald's is the one that committed back to LSU in the late summer. And today, just right before, just like an hour before signing, his family decided to pause, step back, and see what kind of situation administration Lane Kiffin will provide. Because he signed with LSU, Gerald's did, while Brian Kelly was still coaching. Well, Brian Kelly's been fired since, and now they have a new coach. And they just want to make sure everything jives. They're still looking hard at LSU, but that is the big news out of here. But also, too, there was 2 others that signed. I am with one of them and his pops, and they're very, very, I'm actually impressed. Atticus Joseph and Adam Joseph dad. Adam, how you feeling about seeing your son sign today?
Pretty excited, really proud. Words can't describe it. So, I'm really proud of him.
So you're going to Stanford, right?
Yes, sir.
So what? I guess you visited the campus. What did you think of that campus?
Oh, the campus is beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. The infrastructure is great. The weather is great. Everything about it is just feels right.
So, Pops, were you happy that he's going to an ACC school? That way he's staying close to home.
No, listen, I'm happy. We looked at some other schools that were closer, but he made a decision, and once he made that decision, it made it feel better in our hearts that he was going across the country. But he's in great hands with that Stanford staff, Andrew Luck and now Tavita. We're we're ecstatic.
And signing day has changed over the past few years. Adam, we saw students signing letters of intent, but now they're signing financial agreements. And I don't want to get into all the particulars, but I mean, there's some high school kids that are like coming straight out of high school making some decent money.
100%, and that was something that he wasn't too much worried about. Which I think the academic institution that Stanford is really helped mold his decision. And sure, it did come with some NIL, but it wasn't a deciding factor for him.
But it totally adds another element of decision making, for sure.
Yeah, can I borrow $5?
Hey, can I borrow $5? So, how was it finally? I mean, you've seen this go on, Atticus, for several years throughout your career. You've seen your upperclassmen ahead of you come up here and sign, and it's had to have been an exciting day for you. I mean, what did you think? I mean, how did it feel to sit there and finally see this come to fruition for you next to your fellow teammates signing for other colleges?
It was really a dream come true. I mean, it's a total blessing. I couldn't do it without my support system, without God. I mean, it's really a dream come true. You see it all, growing up. I see people sign, and just to be in this moment right now, it's surreal.
Awesome. Atticus Joseph and Catrell Webb, they signed today. Catrell Webb signed with the Purdue Boilermakers. Atticus Joseph signed with Stanford Cardinals, or Cardinal, I guess, I don't know. But and Adam Joseph, he got to see his son sign and make the big step. It's an exciting time for a lot of a family that was out here. And any last words you want to say to any parents out there about dealing with stresses of recruiting?
Hey, just have them work hard in the classroom mainly, and number one, and then work really hard on the football field, baseball field, wrestling mat, wherever you are. Build relationships with your teachers and administration. Be kind and nice to one another. He's a good kid.
Awesome.
I'll keep him.
So I think California will be fun for him too.
Yeah, I think
It'll be neat. Well, there you have it. Like I said, 3 signees out here, only 2 signed. Deuce Gerald's is taking a little pause for LSU, seeing what the new administration is like out there. They like the defensive coordinator, but they're wondering about the defensive line coach. So they're just taking a little bit of a pause and making sure it is the right decision. But they're looking at Friday. Deuce Gerald's is looking at Friday to sign. But we got Atticus Joseph here and Catrell Webb. They have signed. Catrell Webb with Purdue and Atticus with Stanford. And I guess that's it. Back to you, Tom.
It's a really exciting time. Let's not underestimate for these high school kids. They're so young, right? And there's so much on the line.
Yep.
I love that picture behind Joseph, by the way. Pretty cool to see your big picture up there as a high school student. And there's something there that hasn't always been there, Eli, and that is the financial incentive behind these recruits, something that kind of factors into their decision-making process, which is why I guess Deuce is waiting a couple more days to kind of sort through those details. But it's step one for a lot of these guys in their entire careers. Usually step one is for like the normal person is going to college and then getting a job. This is step one of their entire football career. So look at
immediately start making
how
big money
elevated
and
they are coming out of high
because
school.
Yep, it's insanely crazy because, when I was in high school, I mean, just the thought, if you thought about paying a college player money, that was illegal, wrong, against the rules. I mean, that's how, strict they were. And I even covered, back in the early 2000s, I covered the Albert Means case with Alabama supposedly paying Albert Means' family $100,000 just to get him to go to Alabama. And that was a huge, major fiasco, controversy, and they almost lost the football team for a season or two, called the death penalty. The NCAA said they're looking right down the barrel of it. And now here we are paying high school kids straight out of high school to go to college and not even blinking, well over $100,000 that I just mentioned. And this is like multi-year guarantees or contracts. And also, too, though, with the portal, if something doesn't work out, the college kids can, come January, decide, well, I just want to transfer, and they can transfer. It used to be you had to wait a year, lose a year of eligibility, but now you don't have to wait a year. You can just transfer, start right back up. So it's a good thing
but it's also a bad thing because there's no set rules. I mean, it's kind of the wild, wild west right now in the NCAA, and with all these schools. Some schools have a lot more money than others, and also too, we want to build a little bit of culture and school spirit, and maybe put some reins on when these kids can transfer or how they transfer or something. But it's good that the kids are getting paid. I dig it. They work hard and they bring in a lot of money for schools. Yeah, but right now it's the wild, wild west, to where it's being exploited a little bit, to where I think some institutions are losing a little bit of control. With boosters now able to influence and bring people over. I mean, there's words that UGA lost the quarterback to Vanderbilt because of deep pockets, and that would have been unheard of 3 or 4 years ago. Look, University of Georgia losing a quarterback to Vanderbilt, but here we are. And
the whole
but today's been a good day for
is the compensation part of this is relatively new. And so when you talk about the wild, wild west, I mean, we got a lot of ground to cover in terms of how this is regulated. There's not a ton of precedent that's been set in paying college players. So there's going to be some stops and starts and some growing pains along the way for collegiate football and how these players are compensated and what it means to them as players and individuals, and how much money these schools are willing to put up to get these top-line players onto their teams. So very, very interesting perspective. Eli at Collins Hill High School. Early National Signing Day up there in Swanee. Eli, thanks. Want to touch on another story here locally, a big one, before we let you go in the 3 p.m. streaming hour. Fox 5 News at 4, basically on deck here at any moment, which you'll see stream live right here. Remember that Rockdale County inmate that escaped from Grady Hospital on Sunday? He's been knocking on people's doors in Covington this morning. There he is, according to police. He escaped Grady. He said he was suicidal, so Rockdale County prison officials took him to the hospital. Then he jumped. He got away. There was video of him in his hospital gown running away, carjacked a car, had a Glock inside. They've been looking for this guy. Look at him just walking up to people's houses and knocking on the door. This Ring doorbell video came in extremely handy for officials as they found this guy in an abandoned home. They saw a broken window in back of the home. They moved in with a canine unit and finally captured him. No surprise. They always wind up capturing these guys after they break away. But he's back in prison. Timothy Shane was his name. So he's back in jail, keeping these communities now much safer because authorities were worried. That's him in his Grady Hospital gown running away. Incredible. But he's back behind bars now. We're going to be back in just a second. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. Tom Haines with you. We're live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. It's been a pretty busy afternoon of news today. Georgia Works, they are a nonprofit working to end homelessness, and now they're expanding their program to include women. The DeKalb County Women's Program is creating some opportunities for the chronically homeless women to kind of rehabilitate themselves, transform their lives, get back up on their feet, and become productive members of the community. Chris Rosenthal out there with this big effort. It's a welcome one, I'm sure. Chris, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. You know, part of this big effort is providing housing for these women, and they just did a ribbon cutting for this new home for these for 11 women, 11 homeless women. This is in Decatur, and they, you know, this is first for them in their program. The Georgia Works has been working with homeless men since 2013, but now they are working with women. I'll just pan the camera around and show you. This house was in not best condition, but they did a lot of work to it to get it up and ready, and now some members of the community are just taking some tours and looking around and getting a look at the home after the ribbon cutting. But I am joined by Bill McGann. He is the founder of Georgia Works. Bill, thanks for joining us today.
Great. I'm honored to have you here. This is an exciting day.
Yeah, and you know, talk to me about this house and this program, what you guys are doing here today.
Well, first thing, it's a collaboration, really a collaboration between a whole bunch of different people. It's the city of Decatur, DeKalb County, the nonprofit community, and Georgia Works. And together we all brought something to the table, and we've opened up an 11-bed facility, which is a start here over in Decatur, that's going to help women really do a few things. One is we're going to have them come in, we're going to help them overcome their obstacles to employment, which are things like they need a driver's license, a credit card, they need a bank account, and those sorts of things. We're going to help them with their underlying maybe bad habits which have caused them to be in our facility to begin with. And then the third thing to do is we're going to get them working. We're going to get them on a job, and we're going to get them with some skills training, and we're going to get them ultimately into a permanent job so that they can move out of here into their own place. They're going to have a little bit of savings, and they're going to be on their way, and hopefully, you know, never coming back.
Yeah, Bill McGann, thanks for joining us. This sounds like a great thing. I mean, this is not, you know, important to note. This is not just, you know, this is not a shelter per se. This is a program designed to get these women back, you know, in the in the workforce. You know, they're going to have some structure. They're going to have you know, opportunities brought to them. Transportation's important, and they're very closely situated here with public transit. And again, about 11 women applying now, and they you know, hope to have them. I believe it's around January they should be moving in.
That's right.
Around January they should be moving in here. And of course, you can help and donate. You know, go to georgiaworks.net. Back to you guys.
Well, it's a welcome sort of pivot in these women's lives to be able to rehabilitate. Again, not a permanent home, as you say, but something to launch them back into society. And beautiful surroundings there in that home. And what a great cause and a great effort on the part of these folks that are putting that together for these 11 lucky women who are going to have a second chance to get back on their feet and to reemerge into society. That is going to do it for us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. Really appreciate you being with us today. The news continues. A lot still to get to this afternoon right here, right now.